the war first started, or when I first was in it, there were 69 bombers shot down that day, and there were 24 of us, or 48 of us, trying to protect them. And of course there must have been 300 or 400 Germans, and we didn't do a very good job of protecting them because we couldn't. I made it through that day, and I don't know how, but anyway, I asked God to help me from then on. I always have, and He always has. My name is JohnSalsman. I was born on the 8th month, the 28th day in 1920. I was born to a poor family, and of course it was Depression time, and there was nobody had any money, and you either had to have something to trade for something, or just go hungry until somebody fed you. But nobody went hungry. Everybody helped everybody, and there was no stealing. You couldn't. Nobody stole anything in those days, and no stealing and no lying. It was completely different. Everybody helped everybody. Like, I remember one time he called everybody and told them we were going to butcher pigs and come on over and help, and they could have. He butchered 50 pigs. They wouldn't have got anything if they sold them either. But for years, people were doing things for my dad after they got on their feet. It was wonderful. He was never a rich man, but he was never a poor man either. He was especially rich, and everybody liked him. My dad never heard him swear. He was just a good guy. Yeah, he was always happy. To high school and graduated in 1938 from Gilesville High. I did plan to go to college, and in fact I had a job, a munitions plant at the cities. I actually enlisted in 1940, but I wasn't called up for a pilot or for a cadets until 1942, June of 1942. I had a high draft number. I might not have volunteered so quick. I didn't want to walk, I wanted to fly. Well, there was 34 of us wrote the test, and it was just a simple test, but I was the only one passed it. And so they took me. I was almost immediately in, but then they didn't call me to active duty until the 17th of June or 16th in 1942. England. I was based in England, Leicester, England. Then we went to Gox Hill. It was a English training base. They had 51s in an English training base, and we had to fly so many hours there. There was a lot of boys got killed there because they really didn't instruct like they should. They just, here it is, there it is, get it and go. But I got through that all right, and then there were 6 of us that went through cadets all together. We were filler pilots. We were supposed to go as a group, but they needed fillers so bad that they just split us all up. And those 6 guys and I went to the 357th, and all 6 of us lived, which was unusual because there was a 500% turnover there. When the war got into Palm Sunday, they cleared us to shoot anything in Germany, strafe. And they had trains, of course. Some of them were trains and some of them were bait. And the bait was the train would be puffing a big smoke and going down the track, and you went down on them, and the sides would drop, and they'd be all guns and shoot at you. Well, we were coming back, and we had my flight had all our ammunition left, and saw one of these trains, and it really looked more real than it, but it wasn't. It was a shield. And I asked my flight if they wanted to strafe it. Oh hell yeah, 'cause they'd. And so we went down on that, but we were strafing, and they were shooting 20 millimeters at us, and it looked just like you flew through a snowstorm with their white flak. And I never got a scratch. The other three guys didn't get killed, but they got shot up pretty bad. And that Maisie R went 300 hours with never a sign of battle damage. Anybody tells you it's fun to be in a war, they're absolutely crazy. But anyway, this guy Colburn, he had graduated with me and was a good friend and a good pilot. And we ended up, he and I, in the same Quonset hut. And during the day, he was flying with a Captain Shaw, and when you strafed, the wingman fired off the leader. When the leader fired, you fired, and you were flying tight formation, so you didn't see what you were hitting. And that day, there was all the little German towns and French towns and so on, were towns with one long street that would always lead right into a church. In that particular time, when they strafed it, it was just like a sickle going down the street and mowing people down, and it strafed into the church. But anyway, Colburn didn't see that. His film had it on. And then that night, I kept telling him, go to bed, go to bed. What are you doing? Oh, he had to write a few letters. But what he was doing was he was writing a letter to the world, I guess, and he left it for me. And a whiskey flask, you had just a small whiskey flask you could put in your pocket. And guys used to carry them. And I was 45. I never carried a 45. So he left those three things to me, and they were on top of the stuff in his footlocker. And I still have the letter too with some of my other stuff. But he told about how he was so ashamed of himself for killing like that he hoped he was, perhaps, he said, perhaps I'll be lucky enough to die and won't have to have that on my conscience. And he did. The next day, he shot down a long-nose 190, which was a pretty good victory. And he got shot down himself. And I heard him screaming at him to break. And he said he never broke. He just kept flying straight ahead until he shot him down. I just, I don't mean to say I was a good guy and did everything right, because I sure didn't. But I still knew that I wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for God, and I would still say that. Just look at me. I don't have a shitting thing but my legs. Of course, I can't walk, but otherwise, it's just like I just blessed.